Hello, this is Everett, and I'm really excited to share with you Psalm 57. This psalm has been an incredible blessing to me over the last months as I've been studying it, mulling over it, really praying through it, and gathering lots of information from different commentaries and sources and stuff. So, very excited to be sharing with you some things that I've had personally benefit me and bless me from this. I'd really love to go through the ideas that are in Psalms in general, some things that'll help you to read Psalms. Also, to help you see some ways that you can take this, the approaches that David used in his life to be able to work in your life, to be able to show you how to place God at the center and how to have an amazing time. And just to see the connections that are in here. There's so many good, really deep things that when we dig into the Bible even a little bit more than we normally do, we get such an incredible blessing from that. The background of Psalm 57 is that it is a Miktam of David, and a Miktam of David is just a song that David wrote. It's a type of psalm, and the idea was that he was running from Saul, and he was hiding in a cave, and Saul was the king at the time. Saul saw David as a threat to his rule, and so he decided to go after David, take him out, and remove that threat to his kingdom. And so David flees from him, he runs away, and he is hiding out with his men that have gathered around him. All of these different outcasts of society are all together with him, protecting him, and he's leading them. And so it's this time of great stress for David where he is being attacked, he is homeless, he's on the run, he's a fugitive, and this is just such a powerful thing. So let me just dive in and we'll take a look at the whole psalm. I'll read through the whole thing, and then we're going to go through section by section, talk about some different connections here. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. Be merciful to me, O God. Be merciful to me, for in you my soul takes refuge. In the shadow of your wings I will take refuge. Till the storms of destruction pass by, I cry out to God Most High, to God who fulfills his purpose for me. He will send from heaven and save me. He will put to shame him who tramples on me. Selah. God will send out steadfast love and his faithfulness. My soul is in the midst of lions. I lie down amid fiery beasts, the children of man whose teeth are spears and arrows, whose tongues are sharp swords. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be over all the earth. They set a net for my steps. My soul is bowed down. They dug a pit in my way, but they have fallen into it themselves. Selah. My heart is steadfast, O God, my heart is steadfast. I will sing and make melody. Awake, my glory. Awake, O harp and lyre. I will awake the dawn. I will give thanks to you, O Lord, among the peoples. I will sing praises to you among the nations. For your steadfast love is great to the heavens, your faithfulness to the clouds. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be over all the earth. I love that so much. So what we saw here is really what I see as being a story, where we start off in this first section here, and then we move on to this second section, and we have a third section. I'll explain why I got to that in a minute. But you'll notice that in the way that I've laid this out, there aren't any verse numbers. And just as a side note, verse numbers were actually not part of the original biblical script. They are very helpful, and I think they're really relevant for a lot of things, but for the purposes of this, I've removed them so that we have more of the original poetic structure of the way this looked, and we can, remove that distractions of the verse numbers for this purpose. So the reason why I have it set up in 3 different sections is we have these selahs here. And Selah, you'll notice this is the only word that's in here that's not translated into English. They kept the original word and just transliterated it so we can say Selah. And basically Selah is a break in the sections of a song, but can also be used to say, take a moment and ponder this. So it's almost like you have kind of this instrumental section between each of these sections to help kind of mull over the ideas there. And the way that I see this first one is God really being talked to. David's really talking to God and saying, God, be merciful to me. You know that I have taken refuge in you. And David's also saying, I know that you're a God who fulfills your good purpose for me. I know that you will send from heaven and come down. You are going to do this. And so this first section, I call it part 1, the promise. And this is David really setting out the promise, not only talking to God and saying, God, I know that you have that, but he's also talking to himself and telling himself, this is what's happening. This is what God's going to do for me. This is what God does. This is who he is. And there's some great parts in here. There's some repetition that you'll see, refuge and merciful. And this is something that you'll see very often in the Psalms, is you'll see a repetition of words, a repetition of ideas, and some definite things that you'll see in here that will help you better understand the Bible. So, be merciful to me, God, be merciful to me, for in you my soul takes refuge. This is what you'd call a completion of this idea, where he's saying for God to be merciful to him, and then he's explaining why he would like God to be merciful to him, why he knows that God will be merciful to him, is because he takes refuge in God. So that's a completing thought. In the shadow of your wings, I will take refuge till the storms of destruction pass by. And so this is another kind of completion thought, where he's starting off by talking about why that he is going to hide in the shadow of the wings. And it's because of this storm of destruction that's passing by. I cry out to God Most High, to God who fulfills his purpose for me. And this is another one you have a deepening of the idea, where it's God Most High. He is above everything. He is ruler over everything. And he exhibits that ruling by fulfilling his purpose for David. So that's that part 1. He's really just diving in and saying, God, this is who you are. This is what you're going to do for me. And that's an amazing thing there. Then we have the Selah as a section break. And we get into part 2. It starts off really hopeful and really talking with God in earnestness, and it's pretty positive. And then immediately after that, it jumps into this section talking about his soul is in the midst of lions. He's lying down with fiery beasts. And so this right here, it sounds really, really dangerous and not so good. Fiery beast, what does that even mean? Well, we see in the next part right here, he's clarifying by saying this is the children of man. So he's saying these are people. So he's using poetic images of lions and fiery beasts to talk about these people that are coming after him, that are trying to take him down. They have nothing but ill will for him, and they are coming after him with their teeth and with their tongues. And the idea here is that they have spoken these commitments of going after him, that they are going to tear him apart, not only physically, but they're also going to tear him apart with their words and with their plans. What's so interesting about this section is that you have this kind of interspersement. It's this text that's immediately in the middle of him talking about the trouble that he's having. We'll get back to that in a minute. But then right after that, it says, they set a net for my steps. My soul is bowed down. They dug a pit in my way, but they have fallen into it themselves. So what we have here is this right here is actually talking about the problem that David foresaw in the promise section. He's like, I know something bad's going to happen. I'm really in trouble here. And now this is really going down. They are coming after me. They are not joking around. They are planning. They are pushing my soul into a place of great depression, and they are digging this pit for me to fall into. But then they have fallen into themselves. And this second section is really what I call the part 2, the challenge. And this is him experiencing this great challenge in his heart, this great challenge in his physical environment, and what's going on with him being attacked by these people. Then we got part 3, and this is David celebrating. He's really excited, and he is just over the moon. The people that were coming after him have fallen into the pit themselves. And as you can see over here, God is sending from the heaven to save him. And he's going to shame him who tramples on him. So this is the promise right here. This is him knowing it's going to happen. And this is the fulfillment of that promise. And then this is him celebrating the fact that he went through that challenge and he got freedom and he got through the other end. So he is just stoked. I mean, he's talking about just amazing things here, awakening his glory, awakening the dawn. I mean, how happy and excited do you have to be to tell the sun? You're able to tell the sun, hey, today's the day. You got to start right now. Don't wait, right now. I mean, he is just stoked. And this is just a great fulfillment of that promise that he went through that challenge and he got out the other side. Some things that you'll see here as far as repetition is he's talking about God's steadfast love over here. And then now he is saying his heart is steadfast. So God sent out his love. God sent out his protective, wonderful nature. And he provided David an opportunity to have freedom from Saul by having him in this situation where, and I'll explain what happened. Saul basically went into this cave that David was hanging out in, and Saul was going to the bathroom. He wanted to have some privacy, so he went into the cave, left his men outside, and David is in there with his men in this cave. It must have been a pretty good-sized cave, but basically David was hiding in there, and he's like, oh my goodness, Saul's coming in here. His men are like tapping him on the shoulder, hey, go kill him, go take him out. This is God gave you this opportunity. And David said, I'm sure he thought about it for at least a minute, but then he's like, no, this is not what God wants me to do. I am not supposed to take this guy out. He is God's anointed king. I'm not the one that's going to kill him. God's got to have his way with Saul. I am not going to do this. And so what he does is he goes and he cuts off a corner of Saul's robe. And then Saul leaves, and his buddies are like, what the heck is going on? David, why did you just do that? And then a little while later, David walks outside of the cave and yells, and he gets Saul's attention. And he shows him, hey, I had the opportunity to kill you just now, and I didn't do that because I'm not against you. I never was against you. I never was attacking you. I never was against this. And it just breaks Saul down, and Saul had this moment where he was just completely destroyed and just incredibly emotional and so sorry. And this is, there's lots of other stuff that happens in the story of Saul and David. I don't have time to go into that now. But basically, Saul created this attacking, like, I'm going to go after David and take him out, and I'm going to be the king, and I'm never going to let David be the king. And Saul ends up destroying himself. He ends up falling into this pit that he's created for himself because he ends up dying in the same way I think he was trying to kill David. One of my favorite parts, or really my favorite part of Psalm 57, is this part right here. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be over all the earth. And what you've probably noticed so far as we've gone through it is that this exact same wording occurs twice inside of this chapter. And this is the key takeaway. If you don't take away anything else from this, this is what I want you to take away. David spends a bunch of time right here relative to the psalm talking about how he's being attacked. And then in the middle of his concerns, he turns it around and says, God, be exalted above the heavens. Let your glory be above all the earth, be over all the earth. There's no mention here about God coming and saving him necessarily. It's just saying, God, you know what? You're God, you're amazing. Nothing should stand in the way of your glory. You should present yourself and show yourself and be glorious for all of us to see. And then he goes back into this whole situation. He's back in that challenge. He's back in that point where he is talking about, I am being attacked, and this is not good. This is really, really scary. So we see him talking about this and praising God and glorifying God in the moment of his deepest, darkest depression and frustration, and he's scared. He's really afraid. And then in this part, which we're going to call the celebration, he is just absolutely in a totally different frame of mind. He's in a totally different situation. He is now no longer being attacked. He's no longer being chased. He is free. He has these amazing men working with him. And what does he do? He praises God. He thanks God. Thank you for saving me. And then he says the exact same thing again, exalting God, asking him to make his name great. And this is just such an amazing idea that no matter what situation he's in, he's saying the same thing. He's putting God first. He's making this opportunity in his heart to say, whether he's in depression or he's in excitement, whether he is in a place of uncertainty or he's in a place of great firm foundation, he's saying, God, I'm going to put you first. Your glory matters more than anything else. Your glory matters way more than my situation. And I know that you love me, and I know that you are good. And that is the most important thing. Not what I'm going through in the moment, although I know you're going to save me from that. Not in the fact that I get to celebrate right now, which is amazing. But God, you are above all of this. You are in that place. And it's just so crazy to see that. And that's something that I just want all of us to really think about and to live out as we go through our days, is that we have an opportunity to thank God and glorify him no matter what. And we also get an opportunity in that thanking to process through what we're going through, to put ourselves in a place where we're no longer just obsessed with what we're afraid of. We put God in his rightful place. And when we do that, we get to do this. We get to process through the process with God. And that's what David's doing here. He's inviting God into the promise. He's saying, God, I know that you've promised this. I know, come into my heart. Help me to believe this. He's inviting God into the challenge and saying, I'm surrounded, but God, you're above all of this. And he's coming into the celebration too. He's saying, God, this is amazing. Thank you so much. And be exalted, just as I said when I was in my most tense and difficult times. So that's what I want us to walk away with. Process through the process with God. Let him be the center of your life. So that was Psalm 57. So excited to share it with you. Let me know if there's anything you would like me to cover, anything that you're interested in. Leave it in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are on this. If there's anything that's been interesting to you from this psalm, study up. Let Christ be the center of your life, and really let the words of the Bible soak into your heart. So excited to share some more things. I got some stuff going down the pipe. So just keep posted for something else.